This is about people trying to discourage Nigerians from supporting the coalition against the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027, saying that the antecedents of the drivers of the coalition uh, are not anything to write home about. That is true, but life is dynamic, not static. That is one. Another thing, and I think the most important, is that uh, there's no alternative to the coalition to get rid of extremely bad rulers like Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress deceiving Nigerians with hope for better life since 2015 till date. In the absence of military intervention, the only feasible and legal option is coalition, political coalition to unseat a bad ruler. So let us take that without reservation. There is no alternative to the coalition. And it was the same coalition, it was a similar coalition that brought in the All Progressives Congress. Unfortunately, with lies. The drivers of the All Progressive Congress coalition simply took advantage of the prevailing circumstances to unseat the People's Democratic Party. But this is now more than 12 years, and the situation has only been going from bad to worse. So, are we to continue with that? Eh? Rather than seeking peace with the Boko Haram Muslim community, Muhammadu Buhari vowed to eradicate the Boko Haram Muslim community in 6 months, despite my telling him that Ifa Orunmila said in December 2011 that the war started by the war was started in 2009 by Umaru Musa, by the presidency of Umaru Musa Yaradua, who died after starting the war in 2010. And his successor, Goodluck Ebele Asikwe Jonathan, perpetuated the war during his own time that lasted till 2015 before being deposed by the coalition of the All Progressives Congress. But the All Progressives Congress came to power and continued to perpetuate the war and even added herdsmen terrorism. So rather than ending the hardship, further hardship was imposed on Nigeria, herdsmen terrorism. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu came, added his own. Fuel subsidy is gone. All subsidies are gone. We have to keep changing bad rulers. There is no alternative to that. And now, those who were part of the corrupt system, bad leadership of yesterday, are now rising up against the bad leadership. The English people say, a friend of my friend is my friend. An enemy of my enemy is my enemy, is my friend. A friend of my friend is my friend. An enemy of my enemy is also my friend. So, What are we talking about? Whatever these people might have been yesterday, nobody can vow that they are the same people today, because age and experience do change people. People, life is dynamic, it's not static, and people learn from their experiences. For instance, when the People's Democratic Party was in power and thought that it would be in power forever, under the presidency of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, the or let me say the presidency of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua under the People's Democratic Party set up the Mohammed Uwais Electoral Reform Committee, saying that even the election that brought him into power was not free and fair, and that there should be and that the Independent Electoral Commission should be truly free, should be truly independent. And that was why he set up the Electoral Reform Committee. But when the Electoral Reform Committee of Mohammed Uwais came up with its recommendations to make the Independent Electoral Commission truly independent of the ruling party, the ruling party under the same Yar'Adua developed cold feet and refused to implement the recommendations of the committee, so that they can continue to maneuver and get re-elected by their own whims and caprices. But after the unimaginable happened and PDP was overthrown by the coalition of the All Progressives Congress, and the PDP started realizing its mistake, because I cannot imagine that the PDP people that are part of the coalition will now get to power and refuse to position INEC for free and fair election, because they have tasted the music, their own music of yesterday. So that is life, it's dynamic. And besides, with the situation on ground of a president who declared fuel subsidy gone, which of course is a lie. There was never anything called fuel subsidy in a nation living on petroleum money. It's a scam, it's a fraud, and declaring all other subsidies gone from basic necessities of life, paying workers pittance, sinking Nigeria in debts. So what are you talking about? Everybody who is suffering now should unite against the re-election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, period. Forget about the antecedents. We will not forget the antecedents, but we must not support the re-election of this government, of this president that has turned Nigeria to what it has become, and there is no hope in sight. The deception started in 2015 and has continued in 2025. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu thought he could use his so-called electoral reform to fool Nigerians. You said anybody earning less than 250,000 will be exempted from paying tax, 250,000 monthly, while your minimum wage is 70,000. So why didn't you make your minimum wage 250,000 so that you can collect legitimate tax from able-bodied people working, and that any business making less than 50 million annually will be exempted from tax? Why don't you create enabling environments for people to make as much money as possible, and you get everybody to pay legitimate tax for government to survive, maintain security, infrastructure, for Nigerians to realize their potentialities. Huh? So, renewed hope agenda. While running government the way is running it, removing subsidies from basic necessities of life to fund pilgrimages, to satisfy Christian and Muslim imperialists. Yes, not the common Christians and Muslims who are suffering like any common Nigerian, and that is why we are Nigerians must think. You are drunk with Christianity, you are drunk with Islam. Sorry for you. Be drunk for God, who is love, and enjoins you to love your neighbor and do charity to your neighbor. He doesn't want to know your religion. What he wants to know is that you are a nice person, you are a generous person, you are not wicked, you are kind, you are compassionate. That's what God is asking from you, not your Islam or your Christianity or your Judaism. These are the religions claiming to be people of God. Then they are warlike, full of conflict, human and societal exploitations. And that is where our rulers are taking advantage. They are taking advantage because Nigerians can go to church and mosque to weep to God, to feed them and solve their problems. Jesus is the answer. What is the question? The Quran is the answer. What is the question? Why are Jesus and Quran not redeeming you now from those exploiting you and making you to suffer in the midst of plenty? God has endowed Nigeria with abundant human and natural mineral resources, and these people are misappropriating it, yet you are going to weep to God to come to your rescue when he gave you mouth to talk, and the thinking faculty to be able to say this is bad, this is good. So Nigerians must think. The antecedents of these people don't matter, because life is dynamic, and that the enemies of our enemy are our friends. And we hope that they must have learned some experiences from the past. Nasir El-Rufai says, and I want to believe him, that he says, and I quote, I was part of entrenching the garbage. I will be part of removing the garbage, meaning the All Progressive Congress, with particular reference to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even though Muhammadu Buhari did not do better. He imposed on Nigeria S-men terrorism, adding it to the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community, imposed on Nigeria by his cousin Umaru Musa Yar'Adua from the same Katsina state, both of them. So, and now that is in the northwest of Nigeria. Nasir El-Rufai and others are from northwest Nigeria, and so let us be actively supporting the coalition. We must get rid of this garbage. removing subsidies from all basic necessities of life, and yet sinking Nigeria in debt, yet paying pittance to workers. How will business people be promoted when they don't have patronage of workers? Even artisans, how will they be promoted without well-paid workers who will patronize them? That's why the businesses are going down, and everybody is suffering. Workers can hardly go to work with either with their own cars or with paying for transport, because everything is so they tighten their belt and they become emaciated on daily basis, on monthly basis, going to bed with sigh, waking up with sigh. It must end. The people, yesterday's corruption was not as bad as fuel subsidy is gone. All subsidies are gone. Let us admit that.